So, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Dominate Ductless podcast, where we tell the stories of entrepreneurs who are building their business that are focused on ductless heat pumps. I'm Mike Cappuccio. I'm the owner of Dominate Ductless, and I'm excited today to have business owner David Cochran from Complete Comfort. David's business is located in Chilhowie. I think I said that right, Virginia. First, David, thanks this morning for coming on to the podcast. And tell us a little bit about your background, David. What do you do in your company? What are your day-to-day roles there? Tell us a little bit about your company and what you do.
Sure. So I'm David. I'm from Complete Comfort in Chilhowie. We do HVAC and electrical with a primary focus in HVAC at this time. So we've been in business for 14 years, doing heat pump work and generators mainly. Day to day, come into the office every morning, get with everybody, get with my managers, my leads, my office guy, just kind of focus on where we're going for the day, or the trucks lined up, the checklists, making sure that we are as efficient as possible on the jobs. And then it goes everywhere from there.
What happens from there, Dave?
Yeah, so just life happens from there. I mean, most of the times, pretty much on a given day, the guys will leave the shop from there. They go out to their jobs. We do site check-ins at 10 and 1, so 10 a.m. and 1 p.m. The leads check in with the office to let them know, hey, we've got the indoor units in, we got the outdoor unit in, we're working on this. And then of the afternoon, usually around 1 p.m., it's like, hey, we've got vacuum going, we're finishing up some control wiring, we're doing condensate, something along those lines. And then by the end of the day, usually between 4 and 6 p.m., depending on the type of job and what was going on with it, we'll get some completion photos for the day from each lead about what's going on, how the job went, what we're looking at. And we use those photos to review our installations. We look at them weekly at our team meetings weekly and look over those photos and talk about if we see something that we would have wanted to change, or that we've even several times seen something in a photo and we have our technician go back and make that adjustment, whatever it may be.
Dave, where did we first meet?
We met at Dominate Ductless class in, I want to say it was in Greensboro.
Oh.
It's kind of funny.
North Carolina? Was that North Carolina or Georgia?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, North Carolina. It was a train event, wasn't it?
It was. Okay. It was a very, very last minute thing. It was kind of pivotal almost. It was like, wow. I got hollered at 2 days before the class, said, hey, we've got this seat open, only one seat. Think it'd be really beneficial if you go. So I jump on, book a room, roll down there. I think it was only a few hours drive. And I had no idea what I was going to see. I didn't know what I was getting into at all.
Who told you about this? How did this all come about?
My account manager from Train was the one who just threw it at me real quick. And then that's actually where I met you, which I've enjoyed, and Cody Walden, which is my account manager with Mitsubishi. And that's been, like I say, that whole thing just changed the trajectory of how we were doing ductless.
Wow. So how long ago was that? Was that a year ago, 2 years ago?
Roughly 2 years ago.
Roughly
yeah.
2 years ago. Wow. Time goes
roughly
by
2 years
fast.
ago. I know it does.
Time is goes by so fast. So let me ask you this question, Dave. In that training, you go to this training, you have no idea what you're going into. Was there a syllabus? Did they give you anything to look at before you went there?
Not before. They probably normally do, but where it was such last minute, I don't even know how they got me registered in the class. I have a feeling I rolled up and I wasn't even officially registered. It's hard to say, but I definitely didn't get. I know that normally I believe you probably would have. It's just where I was last minute, we didn't get that.
So
no big deal though. Yeah, it didn't bother me any.
So let me ask you this. How did the training help you and your company?
Well, the huge takeaways.
Yeah. So what did it help your company? How did it help your company become like a major name recognized for installing heat pumps? Were you doing any of this before? A little bit? Or?
Oh, yes, I will say some. We were actually, and this is why it kind of fell at a good time, because we had spent roughly a year before this really honing in on our installation process from start to finish, from customer experience, from calling into the office to we're done. Here's your books for the job. So we'd already been working down that road. And so to me, some of the biggest takeaways from that was to be able to hone in that process a little bit with your steps that you built through your training. We really enjoyed, the checklist and talking about how the installations could go throughout the day, your trucks, what should be on your trucks, what they should look like. Like you say, a lot of this stuff we kind of were already doing, but we did restructure some of the pumps. And obviously, one of the big ones that I enjoyed that took away that I immediately jumped on was Comfort Media Group with Don Lafferty. I mean, pretty much the next Monday was talking to him.
Okay.
And figuring something out there. So that was a big takeaway. And I did like how you had all of the different, I'm going to say, apps, gadgets, tools that you've found along the way that help. The little fittings that you can use to adapt from the, I'm going to say, annoying tubing that comes with the Mitsubishis that has always been aggravating to try to get connected to PVC in some way, shape, or form. You find this company that just makes all these fittings that makes that a breeze. Now, we haven't utilized it as much as I would like to, but it's there, and it's really, really handy, those little fittings they make. And then you've got the Wallabot, which I bought immediately, and we used it. It's we got an app on our phone. We can see wires and lines. And I will say I was 80% happy with it, 20% of it just being that you've got to be careful, with how you use it. It's not perfect. It's technology, so it's just not going to be perfect. So I was happy with it, though. It's definitely saved us some holes from cutting places we shouldn't. So things like that were probably our biggest takeaways.
Like when you say, we kind of, you come to this training, you're kind of blindsided, but it happens at a good time because you're already doing a lot of things. And I know when I was in business, I always found things that if there was a little piece or a little part, I don't care if it was $2 or $200 or even $2,000, if it was going to save me money and aggravation in the long run, I would always do it.
100%.
That became such a no-brainer to me in business.
Absolutely.
When you look at those, I was looking at, if there was a tool that's going to make my life easy and I got to pay for it once and I'm going to be able to use this thing 2,000 times moving forward, please give it to me. Give it to me. Show me what to do with it. And surround yourself with people smarter than you is always a good thing, when you
100%
do that. Because, and I found kind of interesting, one thing that you did say as I was listening to you is, the first thing you did on Monday was call Comfort Media Group. That was interesting to me because when we looked at what we went through, that's the first gear of getting things going. So you kind of took the first gear and kind of ran with it. What were you doing any marketing at all prior?
No, not really.
Not really.
No. And when I say that, I mean, we would randomly make a Facebook post or something, and Don would be able to attest to what we had previously. We had a little bit of content on our website, not much, nothing as educational as we have now. So as far as paid advertising, the only thing we really had that you could count, I would say, would be Google Local Services. We were part of that before we had came to your, roughly probably a year before we came to your class, and we had seen some uptick of that. But other than all that did was make the phones ring. I mean, in the sense of if you searched, Google kept us up high on the list. So
what have you found when you really start to do refined heat pump target marketing? Did it work? Let me ask you that question.
It's hard to say that we've really. Yes, I see a benefit from what we're doing through Comfort Media Group, 100%. But I'm still, this is just my mind. I'm still lost on the fact of if you would consider what we're doing marketing, and Don would know, answer that better in the sense of what we're doing is great educational content for our customers. And I love to refer people to our website to read these items because they're awesome. They're perfect. We just don't, other than spending the money with Don, we're now starting to see, we're doing these videos and we're starting to spend a little money on the Facebook marketing of that. So Don has been excellent at making those audiences, and I have seen when he does that, we see a little uptick in whatever we're working with. So the big thing we worked on, I would say, over the last year, as far as with the Laffertys, would have been getting some things ducks in a row with our website and our Facebook. They've been pivotal and getting our Facebook more friendly, I guess is a good word for it. Being able to go on there, scroll through, and nice little articles that are inviting and easy to want to look at and read.
Yeah. Well, you need, like, as we always talked about, when you look at the marketing funnel and you look at the sales funnel or the marketing funnel, when I always talked about that, bringing people in, the first part of it, when people don't know anything about anything, they're looking for information on that. And I always, when I look at contractors and I go on and look at some of their websites, there's not a lot of good informational things. And the way that people are using digital marketing today to take people from a marketing lead to a marketing qualified lead to a sales qualified lead to an opportunity to get somebody into the home, you need, I mean, I know when I was a contractor, I didn't know how to do that.
Yeah.
I'm not good at that. I'm good at selling stuff and fixing stuff and running a business. Not good at marketing. And I guess if I asked you this question when I first met you, how many heat pumps you think you sold? Guesstimate.
I would say
in a year's time. How many?
Yeah. I'm going to say somewhere around 100 to 125 a year.
Where do you think you are today?
We probably haven't quite doubled that, but I definitely would have seen 150 to 75, maybe up there to that 200. We've had a really crazy end of the year, and I think we would have seen a bigger uptick. I do want to put this in there. I think we would have seen a little more uptick than that. Mainly, our HVAC stuff has been just drowned, and I'm not going to even go down that road, but availability of equipment due to refrigerant change has been crazy.
Yeah.
And so
I think you throw the hurricane in there too, weren't you affected by the hurricane a little bit?
we did. We had the hurricane. So that altered a lot of people's buying power and what was going on in their lives. They all of a sudden weren't worried if their living room was cool because they're tearing their house down now. And so there's been several homes completely tore down that are being rebuilt, and that most likely will see some uptick in the beginning of next year as far as those folks needing help. Generators, it created a huge scare in the entire community around us, and we got bombarded with tons of leads of people who were just decided that they didn't want to be without power again, because they were without power for most of the stories we heard were 7 to 10 days, which is a fair amount of time. By that point, you're losing food in your fridge. You definitely don't have any hot water anymore. Some of them were on well pumps and they didn't even have water because they didn't have power, and their backup generators were just little portable generators, and they won't hardly run all of this.
Yeah, it's not the best thing to say, but natural disasters sometimes can create a lot of business.
They can.
It's not what you want it to do.
That's correct.
You don't wish this on anybody, but the impact of it that it has on business on the back end sometimes it can be overwhelming too at times.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess if we really focusing back on the actual training, and we really looked at the two high level topics that you walked out of that room with, that you said, my company needs to be doing this. What do you think they were?
First one's Comfort Media Group.
Marketing. No marketing was going.
Marketing. Yeah. Marketing is strategic marketing. Again, I can't stress enough.
Continuous marketing, I would say, right?
Yeah. I'm preaching to the choir here, of course.
How about a marketing plan?
Yeah.
A plan?
There's nobody out there that does it like they do. So I'm preaching to the choir. I know, because you obviously loved them and used them for a long time. So it would be marketing, strategic marketing that you use regularly. And to me, I think the key point the big one is honing in on your installation process from start to finish, being that you think of throughout that, the customer experience, your van layouts, all of that fun. It's a different type of funnel, but all that funnels down to one thing, and that's how happy your customer is when you're done, which is the most important thing to us, because our customers are who tells other people about us or who go online and write about us and share their experience. And I don't really like having bad experiences shared. So I think that the marketing gets them there, and then the process is what keeps you consistent with everybody.
Yeah, that's a real good way to spell that out. I was reading something the other day about that 90% of businesses are focused on getting new business, and 10% of them are focused on that actually have a refined referral process in their company.
Yeah.
And when people find out that you can switch that around and have, instead of only being referred by 10% of the people, that 90% of their customer base is referring people. And I found this funny because I was actually talking to a friend of mine yesterday, not a friend of mine, but an ex-employee who worked for me for a long, long time. Quick story, he worked for me for 20 odd years, 25 years. He left the company, moved up to New Hampshire, bought a bed and breakfast up there, started an HVAC company up there, and he's one guy. And I said to him, I said, how are you getting work? And he said, I don't advertise anything. He said, I get all my work by other people. He said, because I do good work and people like me. I give good customer service, and everything I get is referral. And I'm thinking to myself, this is a small business that is being built on a referral network. So why can't a bigger business of more people, let's say it's a business of how many people in your business? How many people work at your company?
There's 14 right now.
14. So why can't a business of 14 to 15 people do the same thing?
Yeah, well,
Work on 90%. I think I was honed in on that of like 90% of the leads coming from a referral business in a bigger business. You know how powerful that would be?
Yeah, it'd be huge.
I don't. Let me just make one comment. And I don't really like to jump in on these things because it's conversation between two guys. In my customer base, 80% of the revenue comes from existing customers, whether it's the existing customer buying new services or equipment or referring them.
That referral business, I think referrals get pushed away so much, but it's really honing in on having a good referral process. I mean, Dave, you know me, probably know me long enough now. I'm a process guy. I like to have a process for something. I don't like to wing shit. I don't like winging stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I got to have a process for how it's going to get done, and then it's going to be followed through from step 1 to step 10, whatever it is. Let's follow it through. And really having a honed in referral process, because that one job that came from marketing, right, could create 10 more jobs.
Oh, yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
And that was.
I think you hit it right. You have to give them what you said. Good customer service from the time you pick up that phone till the time that job is completed. I call it it's like a sandwich. You got bread on the top and bread on the bottom. What's going in the middle of it? You can have a real crappy sandwich or a real good sandwich, And obviously the more meat in the middle of the sandwich, the better the sandwich, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So when you give someone a good sandwich, do they go back to that sandwich shop and eat another sandwich?
Absolutely.
Absolutely do.
Absolutely.
So,
and they tell their friends about it too.
Exactly. That's what I'm trying to say is, so they're building a referral based on what's in the middle of their sandwich. Who goes back to a crappy sandwich shop? Nobody.
David, talk about your post-sale process that you're putting together right now with the new video, the Savannah Bananas type video.
Yeah. So we put together, this sparked from literally, I have a business coach, BDR, and they do a thing once a year where you can go and it's called Spark. So this January of 24, we went to Savannah, Georgia, and the keynote speaker was the owner, the guy who really took Savannah Bananas from nothing and made them this goofy, funny baseball team that everybody thinks is enjoyable to be or see today. And one of the cool things they do is they're just unique in the way of that I took away anyways, was we made a video, and we call it a thank you video, an order thank you video. And so anytime somebody buys a installation from us, they're going to receive this video. And Donnie helped us and Don write the script, and they came out and we videoed. briefly what will happen in the beginning of the video. It's just me sitting there and I go, hey, thank you for buying your new system. We look forward to working with you, something along those lines. Then it goes to our technicians are rigorously training, building a plan to install your new comfort system or something. And it shows one of our lead install guys doing like some Mr. Miyagi stuff, like training. And then it says your unit is being, or your system is being stored in a climate controlled warehouse. And it's got me sliding it in with a pallet jack into the door. And I've got two guys that kind of look, they're big and tall. They got some Secret Service looking glasses and tie on and stuff. And they're looking around like this while we're putting it in the door. And then we close the door down and they kind of come together and stand guard of the door, you know. And it's a really neat way of us to say thank you for buying from us and to kind of, and Don, I don't know what it'll come out to be, but maybe 15 seconds or something. Something 15 to 30 second video, short enough. It's just something neat, something different that we're doing.
Also, it kicks off your process and it makes it remarkable right off the bat.
Absolutely.
Right? They've never been treated this way before. So from the day they make the decision to give you a check, you are setting yourself apart from every experience they've ever had.
Absolutely.
And so now they're anticipating, okay, what's next? You know, like, how's it going to go now?
Yeah. And the other thing too is that is so awesome with out of the box thinking. It's just complete out of the box thinking where that's not just canned marketing crap is what I call it.
No.
You know, it's just not some canned piece of crap that you're seeing that, you know, it's very personal. Thank you.
We felt as though it would give, that's something that somebody will talk about. Something that's something who really, it seems like people don't really care to talk about the cool stuff that we do, the nitty gritty of what Cappuccio has done in the field, or David Cochran, you know, what we can go out and how neat we are with our line sets and how level our units are and how well they heat and cool. The homeowners don't really understand that 9 times out of 10. And they also don't care. I mean, they love that it's level, but they love the fact that their room's warm as well. But something they might talk about is, man, when I bought that system, I got this cool little video. You got to check this out, you know, and show it to their friend or something.
You know, people don't realize what goes into something that we do until we show them what we do.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, and that's kind of like where we were talking earlier this morning. I know it's probably not into the podcast, but we've got a lot of competition that's coming down the pipe today that is doing this online selling, and you know they're videoing your home, and they're managing a project from somewhere across the country and hiring some subcontractor to go put it in for you. They don't even know what their process is.
No,
they have so many different people doing it. And I think that that's just opening this world up for a disaster of what can happen with guys like, you know, yourself and guys like me when I was in business of just, you know, we like what we do, we enjoy what we do, and we want to show people what we do and why we do it. And how can we do certain things a certain way? There's nothing more aggravating than going out to a job and seeing something that is a total mess. You know, I was talking, like I tell you, I was talking to my friend yesterday up in New Hampshire. He's telling me, he said, you know, I went out to this job. I got this call the other day from a friend. The friend told a friend about this job, and he had a couple of Mr. Cool units installed in his house and telling me about it. No, they weren't even Mr. Cool units. They were Samsung units. It was Samsung because that's what he sells. He sells Samsung up in that area in New Hampshire, whatever it was. He starts telling me about, you know, there's a 5-wire system with the way that they use their equipment. And he said, you know, if the first unit I went to, he said, you know, both of them weren't working. He said one of them had a code that would look like low refrigerant. He said, so I go there, there's leaks in that system. He said, but there's 25 feet of pipe all coiled up behind the unit. And the guy says to me, well, the guy told me it's a minimum of 15 feet. He goes, yeah, well, why couldn't you? He said, instead of taking the unit and bringing it straight down, we could have just moved it over 15 feet and done it all nice and neat instead of having all this junk all tied up behind the unit. He said, well, can you do that for me now when you fix the leaks? He's like, yeah, sure. So he fixes that. He gets that all done. He makes it look nice and neat. And the next one, he starts looking at the electrical, and with the 5 wires, there was thermostat wire, 2-wire thermostat, which was supposed to be DC communication cables on the L1 and L2. So he's running 230 volts through 18 gauge 22 gauge thermostat wire. And the boards are all blown up. And, so Samsung tells him you need to replace the compressor and the boards in the outdoor unit. And the guy is all aggravated at him now, getting all mad at him. He says, look, you paid the guy to come put it in. You bought the equipment. You bought it online. They put it in. He said, you just called me to fix it. Don't get mad at me. I fixed one of them. You want me to fix the other one? He said, I recommend replacing the unit. He said, that's a perfect scenario of buying something online and somebody not understanding how you do things with the product.
It is. It's a tough story, too. I really hate those stories.
And people get mad at them when they come out there and tell them what it needs, and they're blaming it on the equipment. It is not the equipment problem. It was how it was installed by someone who put it in that did not know what they were doing.
Yeah.
And I think that goes back to training and your processes, and I'll leave it at that.
100%. And, to touch on what you were just talking about a few minutes ago, I've said for years, and I mean a long time, I've always said my competition is Walmart and Lowe's and Home Depot and those types of places. And some people would look at me really funny when I would say that. What they didn't understand was I just meant the level of customer service that they provide to their customers is what I'm competing with. I'm not competing with staying in the van or Bubba Butt Crack or Chuck in a Truck or whoever. Those guys all do HVAC too, and nobody really, like I said before, nobody's really caring about whether it's this level or that or N.E.T.R, or they don't pay attention to that stuff at first. What they do realize and what they do remember us by is who we are, what we did for them, and do we stand behind what we do when we make that mistake?
Yeah, exactly.
Because we are human.
Oh,
now, I've been saying now, okay, that's still somewhat of our competition. That competition has changed just a little bit. It's Amazon now. Amazon's my big competitor because Amazon is click the button, shows up the next day, and if you don't like it, send it back and we'll give you all your money back.
And when you think about this guy that we just talked about, buying a system online, having someone install it that was not quality, that didn't know what they were doing, didn't understand the products, different products get installed differently. And did he really save money? Was there a savings in what he did? No, he had to pay this gentleman to come out there and redo everything again. And now he's got sitting there with a system that doesn't work, has no heat, no cooling in the home. And it's like, okay, was there really? Hire a professional. Hire some, like you just said, David, Amazon does what they do every day and they're good at it and they have processes on how they do it. And you do things the same way in your business. People call in, you have a process for how you do it. So is it really competition? Not really. You just have things the way that you do things. And I think people are starting to understand more and more and more, and what, a good article on buying equipment online versus versus hiring a professional contractor. What's the difference? You could talk, how long could you talk about that in an article for? Think about it. I guess,
same as I share the analogy all the time that it's the same as a doctor. Would you go on Facebook Marketplace and find your doctor online, or do you go to the hospital or the cardiologist down the road, or this big city who has done this for years? Who, it's going to cost $500,000 to have open heart surgery, or you can go to Mexico and have it done for $50,000. Who goes to Mexico and has a $50,000 open heart surgery?
I always say, it's, it just doesn't make any sense to me,
Nobody does it in the professional world. Nobody does that stuff with their medical and this and that. But when it comes to the things we do, that hasn't clicked exactly with everyone that, hey, you hire the professional to get it done right and you spend a little extra money up front and you don't ever worry about it again. You've got that person in your back pocket now. You're talking with them versus you hire the guy, buy it on Amazon, and you get your buddy's friend from work to come put it in, and he's working, he's busy, he don't care if your unit works or not.
I actually had a client one time ask me, said to me, when I handed them the bill one time, he said, "What do you think, you're a doctor charging these kind of prices?" And I looked at him and I said, "Yes." I said, I'm a doctor of HVAC. I said, "And you're going to pay me what that invoice says because you didn't know what was wrong. I knew what was wrong. You're not paying me to do what I did. You're paying me to know what I know." And that comes with a lot of years of experience and knowledge. You know what I mean? And
I do.
I don't have any issue with that at all. So like you just said, would you pay 50 grand for open heart surgery or 500 grand? There's a reason why you do it. But I guess, and David, in closing, tell me, if you had a recommendation for other contractors around the country, right, to get on to this heat pump bandwagon, I guess is what I call it. There's a lot of guys that aren't doing it. What would you tell these guys? What would you say to them?
So let's back up and say, if to give the recommendation, I think that the first piece of the recommendation is going to be to go to Mike Cappuccio's class. And I'm not saying that because I'm on this podcast with you. I'm saying that's how you get a fast pass to figure this stuff out. Now, you go to this class and you cram it in a day or two, and you go home and you got 5,000 things that you all of a sudden want to do. And you've got this towering idea that, hey, I can get all this done. You need a good couple of years to implement this stuff. This stuff takes time, and you do it, and then you change it, and then you do it. But to make it simply put, that is the quick, easy answer of go to this class and listen, take some notes, keep your books, keep your flash drive. You've got all the slides, go back and review. Number 2 is sign up with Comfort Media Group. If that was huge as far as getting all this content out there to be the business that I want it to be. So
you know what else I listened to too when you heard those 2 things? You took what I'm seeing that you got out of that was you took the first gear and started with the lead gen.
Yeah, lead gen.
Once you get that piece out of the way, once you get that piece out of the way and create the plan, you know what's going to happen, Dave? Everything else is going to fall into place, and then you'll implement those little things. That's why I kind of teach that class the way I teach it. But that's really good.
What'd you say, Don?
One comment I want to make about this. David started with us with the goal of building trust, not a goal of getting in the car and hitting the gas.
Trust your marketing guy.
David's got a very protective mama bear who was responsible and holding the reins to his marketing strategy. And she had her eye on his back through the process. And so we did not start at full blast. We started slow and steady. We did a few things. We introduced David to email marketing. We introduced David to downloads on his website, landing pages with education on it in a sort of a measured fashion without David going to a lot of risk, right? Would you say, David?
Yeah.
So now here we are a year later. Yeah. And David's starting to push the gas a little bit. So
start slow, build trust.
One other tip.
Start slow, build trust.
Absolutely. That's sometimes I think we're too slow, but then sometimes I look back and go, hey, I'm glad we took our time.
Yeah. That could be managed chaos too, David, at that point too. You don't want managed chaos. I think a good plan, going slow, building trust, because I'm going to tell you, I hear so many horror stories of companies that have hired people that have taken their website, can't get their website back. The phone numbers are gone. Some marketing company wiped things out. Oh God, I've heard over the past 12 years, I've heard disasters.
Yeah.
Disasters.
We obviously didn't want to find ourselves in those situations. And it isn't just with Comfort Media Group. It's that way with everybody that works here. If you have access to my YouTube or my Facebook, you don't have the master passwords. You're added as a user or something along those lines. So it's the same concept of, we should hold and own everything that we operate. It would be like somebody else owning all of my vans and we just use them. And then if they get mad at me and they pull all my vans, well, I can't service any of my customers anymore. Same concept in my mind.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I've seen that done with a couple companies. One guy was like, I gave XYZ CSI, software company my phone number. And that was how we tracked all of our phone leads through our main phone number. And he said, and then we left the customer service software that we were using, the CRM, and they were like, well, that phone number is our phone number now. And he's like, well, I had this phone number for 25 years. Now my phone number is gone. he didn't read the fine print. And
yeah, that's crazy.
Had to pretty much restart a business.
Yeah, that's crazy.
There's so many things in the fine print that you got to understand, so in closing, I guess I just want to say thank you for joining the podcast. I think there's some great information here for other contractors to listen to, because you know what? These are where we tell the stories really of entrepreneurs who are building their businesses today. And I think it's very hard for some of these guys to build businesses. When I hear you're at the 14-person mark, you've gone over some walls.
Oh yeah.
You've hit some walls, you've gone through some challenges, and I just hope that you're going to go over a lot more walls moving forward. And one thing don't forget is be profitable. So I'll leave it at that. I want to thank you for coming on. Have a great day. And I guess I'll end it at that.
All right. Well, thanks for having me.
Thanks, guys.